Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well. I am back on my summer season videos. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm using these molds. These are Ireland silicone molds. They are from Amazon. They are a 2-part mold system. Now, I have had these sitting in my stash for about 4 years since seeing them on Resin Ace's channel. These are multi-layered, like terrain. It's the only way I can describe them. They've got multiple layers of terrain. You fill out one side first, you demold, and then you place it back into the open cavity. I was nervous about this, I'm not gonna lie. Because of the holes, I was worried that I wouldn't be able to get it back in. It's really quite tricky sometimes to put a piece of cured resin down over those holes, but we shall see, we shall learn together. Now, there is a rectangular one, a circular one, and like a teardrop shape one. I'll be honest, I think even on their own, just the empty cavities on their own make for beautiful shaped molds, and they're deep. So if you wanted to do multiple layers of, say, flowers in UV resin, for example, you could. You don't have to use the terrain section. Now, I have checked out Amazon. You can get so much more now. So, oh my gosh. I'm going to be using epoxy resin in today's video. Of course, you can do UV resin. You can get different colored UV resin. Now, I've recently bought some aquatic sand from Amazon. This is designed for fish tanks. It was the cheapest possible way for me to buy sand. And because I was working on another project, this is what I had left. And I thought, now is the time to create these. So I've got a quartz sand and a yellow sand. One is much lighter. One is very much like your typical British beach yellow. My brain couldn't quite get to grips with these at first, like the terrain. I'm like, well, if I put it in here, how is it going to be when I demold? Is that the bottom? Is that the top? Like how, like my brain, guys, I couldn't quite work it out. But as soon as I put the darker sand down in, thinking that's the deepest part of the ocean, it's not. That's going to be the top. Obviously, you know it. I now know it. It's all good. We can all know it together. What I wanted was the beautiful pale quartz sand to be the surface, so there's no water going to be on top of this, and that therefore it's lighter, you know, it's the lighter area of sand. Whereas for the deeper parts of the ocean, I wanted the sand to be darker, and therefore I'm going to use the darker yellow. But it took me a minute, because I started putting the yellow down and I was like, wait, and you can see me on camera like, this is the moment she realized she messed up. So yeah, I scooped it out with a cotton bud and I just did it round the other way. So that I mean, how beautiful is this sand, guys? Again, this is for your fish tanks. Aquatic quartz sand for your fish tank. Stunning. And even with resin on it, it doesn't go any darker than that. It is beautiful. Next up, then, I'm just filling the rest up with that darker yellow sand. So again, this is a 2-parter. You do your terrain bit first, leave that to cure overnight. You transfer it over into your empty cavity, and then, you know, choice is yours what you then do, whether you fill it up with whatever you want to fill it up with. But yeah, so much fun. I had a couple of worries about this mold. I didn't need to be worried about these molds because, oh my goodness, guys, they work to dream. Okay, but there are so many layers. They are, like I said, a multiple layer terrain, and they're all 90 degrees. So I was like, I am going to get so many air bubbles trapped in here. Now, this resin I'm using right now, the sandy resin, is left over from a previous project. So it was thickening up. It was quite sticky, quite gloopy, and I was really worried that I would get hunker chunks out of the sides of those multiple levels, if that makes sense. But it was okay. It was all okay. I'm just using my micro brush to go like in and around as many of those areas as I can. But once it's covered in sand, it's really quite hard to see where they are. But it all worked out in the end. It all worked out. I was getting more confident at this point. Like on that first one, I really did take my time with the micro brush. But I thought, do you know what? It's easier than I thought it was. I just need to get the sand down in there before this resin gets too thick to handle. So again, just pushing that down, right down in there to make sure that all of those 90-degree edges are going to get resin in them. Now, I did end up kind of like doing a bit of an eco pouring medium tappity tap with these. I didn't know if it was going to help, but really when you can't see below the resin, it's kind of like, what's the harm? Like no harm is going to be done. I just need to tap, 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 tap and hope that all of those ledges, there's the word I was looking for that my brain could not actually retrieve. Ledges, multiple ledges, that they all get the resin that they need. And also making sure that your resin goes behind the loopholes, because you do not want a chunk out from the back of the loophole. You want it to sit really nicely back into that empty cavity. But I had so much fun with these, and now that I've been on Amazon and I've seen that you can still get them years later, you can get multiple packs now. Like I bought a pack of 3 on their own with nothing else, and now you can get like a pack of 5, pack of 10 with all the keyring attachments, all of the fiddly bits, all of the yumminess. So I'm ordering more because I had too much fun with these, and I cannot express how just using your imagination to create these, it just felt amazing. And I really did zone out and felt very, very zen. 24 hours later, and I was so in love. So in love. You can absolutely see my logic here, using the pale sand right at the tippity top where the ocean is not going to be touching, and then the darker sand down below where, of course, the ocean will be touching, hence wetter sand. Oh, guys. Demold, easy. I was trying to go easy, but I really didn't need, like, you don't want to rip them out, but I didn't need to be as gentle as I was being. They came out so, so easy. Love the amount of paler sand I put in this one. I've also learned a couple of things. There's definitely things I would do differently, but I'm going to talk about that later in the video. Am I? Guys, what even was that? That was not even grammar. English coming out of my mouth. Guys, forgive my brain. I am going to use my deburring tool to just neaten up these edges. There was a lot of little bubbles just on the edges, and you want these to be as clean and crisp as possible before you put them back in to the open, empty cavity. Anything that's going to obstruct them from sitting nicely back into the mold, get rid of it. So again, just a really gentle scrape around those corners to get rid of any scraggly bits of drippy resin, and making sure that the hole is nice and clean as well. Anyway, so yeah, make sure that that area is also nice and clean. That's important. And then we put them back in. I'm not gonna lie, I thought I would struggle, but wow, it slipped straight over the hole, and I could not be happier at this point, because that was my biggest fear. I was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to get these back in. Like, I'm not going to be able to do it. No problem at all. You can see how easily it just went straight in, and beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Bob's your uncle. So happy at this point. And it was at this point I started getting more excited, because I was like, well, at least this part is done, and now I just have to fill them up. Now, I didn't quite know what avenue to go down because there are so many. I ended up buying this huge pack of seashells and starfish from Amazon. If you are watching from outside of the UK, it is illegal here in the UK to pick up seashells and sand from any UK beach, and I'm a good girl, so I bought mine from Amazon. But as it turns out, each and every one of these, when it said miniature seashells, I genuinely was expecting them to be miniature. They're not. They're just small shells. They're way too big for these, way too big. Even the smallest, tiniest little shell, it was just too big for these. So I changed my path, and I went with a different route. Now, here are 2 little pots of resin. They have got quite a lot of air bubbles in. And honestly, I could kick myself because I have a bubble removing machine. Like, now is the time, Claire, to use your bubble removing machine. But no, I thought if I just drop in a few drops of alcohol ink, then that would also help get rid of the bubbles, which it does. It's just I could have put in a bit more work to get this resin as crystal clear as possible. This is the new plan. We're going with teeny tiny itty bitty little sharks. Now, you guys know me, I love using Cricut vinyl. I'm not a fan of weeding, and creating things like this, you don't need to worry about weeding because it's just one shape and they come away like a dream. And how cute does it look? I cut out 4 sharks, 2 teeny ones and 2 that were ever so slightly bigger. So the itty bitty little ones are going to go right at the bottoms where the ocean of course will be deeper, and then the slightly bigger ones will be coming a bit further up into the shallow water nearer that cool pale sand. It was just a case of where do I put them. So at this point, I'm looking for 2 ledges that are pretty close to each other so I can stick the tail onto one of the ledges and then the head can come across the bay and stick on another one of those ledges. So I just, moved the mould around until I was really happy. And at this point, I was really happy. And this is where they stayed. So you can see here, the tail is stuck to a ledge. The head is stuck to a ledge, but the middle of that shark is not stuck to anything. And I was just hoping that the vinyl would be strong enough to keep them in place while the resin came up and around them and swamped them basically. Now, I said earlier in the video, there's things I would do differently if I were to do this again. Number 1 is put your resin through your bubble removing machine, or use all of the methods you can to remove all the bubbles, i.e. hot water bath for your resin, lots of heat, use a heat gun, all of the things. I did none of it. Therefore, we have got a few bubbles in here. But what I would do differently next time is leave it here. I wouldn't put any more blue resin into these. I would leave it here and I would fill them up completely with clear resin. And I'm sure you can all see why, because as soon as I started putting in that pale blue, blue and yellow makes green. And of course the sand is yellow. The alcohol inks I used were blue, and it's just creating this green tint. Now, yes, for me, that's more realistic. This is much more realistic of an ocean, especially in the UK. You've got the greenness to it. You've got some algae in there. You've got seaweed in there. You've got all of the things. So it's definitely more of a realistic colour. It's just, I don't know if it takes away from the ledges. Do you know what I mean? That rocky terrain, those multiple layered areas of sandy banks. I don't know if it takes away from that. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, whether you would just pour the blue at the bottom and then pour the rest in clear so that you've got a really good view. Now, what I did to minimize the bubbles on this was I literally stayed in my craft room for about half an hour after making these, and I used my lighter because the bubbles were rising, and every time I saw a new layer of bubbles, I would hit them with my lighter and get rid of them. So I did my best to minimize the bubbles, but we are on the circle one now. I love the circle one. There's something about this shape. It just feels so yummy to me. I don't know what it is. Let me know. Have I got some kind of circular fascination? Who knows? 2 sharks go in. Now, the second shark for me was a lot trickier because I wanted it a lot higher up, but then I wasn't happy with the placement. I ended up placing it here, but you'll see later in the video I actually do move it, which is to the detriment of the shark, unfortunately. The other thing I'd do differently, so not only would I make sure my resin was 100% bubble free, I wouldn't mix it so fast. I would take all of the steps to get all the bubbles out before I poured it. I'm not sure that using dark blue at the bottom and a much more turquoise Bahamas type blue at the top actually did anything. I don't know if it really did anything. I don't really see much of a... It's not like you look at this and think, oh yeah, the dark blue is the deep ocean and then the light blue is the surface. I think they just blended together and there's no difference, you know. So there's a few things I would definitely do differently. But yeah, you can see again, it's just mixing with that yellow and turning it green. Equally, I love them. I'm not being too hard on myself, I promise. I just know that what I was looking for, and I'm going to definitely try these again and do something else to make them even more wow. But this is the point where I'm just using a cocktail stick to go in and around all of those ledges, all of that terrain, those multiple layers, just to get any air pockets away. And you can see here the blue has, I guess, disguised, is that the right word? The blue has disguised the fact that there are multiple beautiful layers in here. So this is 24 hours later, and oh my gosh, despite the darkness, despite, you know, the fact that you can't see much, I definitely needed a white background. So I'm just going to grab some white paper here and show you what they look like with a white background. We have got multiple micro bubbles in there. That is human error. When will I learn? Guys, learn from me. Do not do this. Make sure that all of your bubbles are out equally. It is the ocean. There are bubbles in the ocean. So we could just say they were deliberate, right? This is the kind of art that reminds me of when people put those like miniature scuba divers. Do you know the ones I'm talking about? Like miniature scuba divers down inside the oceans, the deep, dark oceans. I absolutely love it. I thought I would use some black rope with these, but actually I tried it with brown, and I think brown works really well. The contrast against the sand, it looks a lot more organic, a lot more natural. But again, how you finish these off is entirely up to you. These don't have to be necklaces. They can be key rings. They can be, I mean, can they really be earrings, Claire? You'd need some really strong ears. If you are genetically lucky to have strong ears, these could be earrings. But I love them. I absolutely love them. I just don't love the greenness to them. So yeah, let me know. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Again, clear resin for me is going to be the best way forward. So get your blue layer at the bottom and then fill up the rest with clear. And then you can see all of that beautiful work that you've put in to the multiple layers of terrain. Because right now they are disguised. I'm not seeing them. But okay, let me know. If I make these again and I try a completely different method, will you watch it? Let me know, because I very rarely do exactly the same video in the next session, you know. Yeah, using exactly the same mold, exactly the same things. So let me know in the comment section, if I do this again and I do it another way, will you watch it? Would you like to see how they come out? Because I'm ordering more as well. I'm ordering a multi-pack because, oh my gosh, so in love. It was at this moment the sun came out and I thought I'd take the opportunity to quickly show you them in the sunshine. They're just so pretty. And they also spark imagination. Like you can just imagine like swimming down amongst this, well, okay, not the sharks. Let's just keep it real. Swimming down into the ocean and just being surrounded by stunning coral reef and things like that. But yeah, this is the 3-pack that I bought. Now, this is what they're looking like. If you are interested, of course, I'll link everything below. But yeah, let me know if you feel inspired. And I will link everything down below if you do want to go ahead and create anything like this, including the beautiful quartz aquatic sand. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.